Big change number one, old GMAT had analytical writing. So you'd write a 30-minute essay. That's gone. There was a section on the old GMAT called integrated reasoning, and that was a 30-minute section, but it didn't count towards your composite score.
Okay.
So we'll hold on to that for a second. I'll circle back to it in a moment.
Mm.
The two sections on the old GMAT that really mattered were quant and verbal. So what they basically did is they kept quant and verbal, but they simplified both. So verbal used to have 3 question types on the old GMAT: reading comprehension, critical reasoning, and sentence correction. Sentence correction's gone.
Okay.
New verbal section: reading comprehension, critical reasoning. So again, I think a very test taker friendly change, really good for most people. Quant used to have 2 question types: problem solving and data sufficiency. New GMAT, just 1 question type: problem solving. And as a result, both of those sections are much shorter. They used to be more than an hour long. Now they're 45 minutes each. Also a really good change for test takers. And then that old integrated reasoning section, those 30 questions, they basically took those same question types, added data sufficiency, which used to be on the quant section, added it to the question types on the old integrated reasoning, and rebranded that as data insights, put it into the new GMAT. So before, your composite score was 2 sections, quant and verbal. Now it's 3 sections, quant, verbal, both of which are simpler and shorter. Not easier, but simplified in terms of structure and shorter. And then this third section, data insights. And those 3 sections now combine equally. So no more writing, a little bit more analyzing data. But part of what's interesting about all this is that really they haven't created any new question types. There's really not new content. They've actually removed some content: geometry, sentence correction, writing. And they've kind of taken what's left of the test, rearranged it a little bit. So for most test takers, the reality of the new GMAT is, yeah, this data insight section counts towards your composite now, but there's actually less to study. So, and GMAT was thinking very consciously of that when they redesigned the test. They said, hey, how do we make this less intense for test takers who need to study for this? Can we reduce the amount of studying that people need to do? So another really positive change. I mean, even running a test prep company where we can say, oh yeah, it's bad for business because maybe our students stick around for less time. But honestly, we want that. Anything that's good for test takers puts a smile on our face.
Mm-hmm.
If you can concentrate more of your time on a smaller handful of things, I just think that's better, a lot less torture for students. So all of those changes in kind of shrinking the exam and making the sections a little bit more straightforward, I think is great.
In my research for the GMAT, I've seen that with the GMAT Focus edition, they also changed the score range. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, they've changed the composite score from a 200 to 800 scale, the same one we've seen for decades and decades, on different tests. And they changed it to 205 to 805. Why? Well, they wanted to kind of preserve the familiarity of the scores. That was actually something that business schools asked for. Business schools actually said, no, don't give us a new scale. But they wanted to be able to tell the difference between an old score and a new score. So over the next few years, you'll see applicants, whatever, pick your school, Harvard, Iowa State. They're going to see some applicants with old GMAT scores. They'll always end in 0, always be a multiple of 10. And some new scores, which will always end in 5. So doesn't make a huge difference. Now you can't get a 700 anymore on the GMAT, but you can get a 705. Okay, fine. So superficial, kind of a nice thing for schools to kind of help them figure out, okay, which version did this person take? The one thing that's a little funky, I guess 2 things that are a little funky. One is that they also changed the subscores. So quant and verbal used to be on a scale from 1 to 51, which wasn't very intuitive to anybody. They changed it to 60 to 90. 75 is, again, depending on the section, right around average or the median. So not that big of a deal, not super hard to interpret. The one really funky thing is the distribution's a little bit different. So one of the things we get asked all the time is, well, somebody I work with or somebody at a business school said, hey, you need a 700 to get into the school, like get a 700 and then they'll look at everything else. Okay, great. The problem is 700 on the old GMAT is equivalent to a 645 or a 655 on the new one.
So and not a 705, right?
Exactly. 705 is a really tough score to get. You're getting awfully close to the 99th percentile now with a 705. You're not quite there, but it's close. So look at the percentiles. If somebody in your life says, hey, just get score X, be a little bit careful. And you can go on MBA.com and there's tables that translate old scores to new scores. They're not usually so different, but we see a lot of people walking in and saying, well, hey, all of my friends got into top schools and they needed a 750. I hope, please, anybody who's listening to this, and please prove me wrong, but 750 on the new GMAT, 755, man, that's hard to get. I mean, that's equivalent. That's awfully close to an 800 on the old GMAT. So if somebody advises you, hey, or you look at averages from the schools and you say, I need a 700, I need a 750, even a 650, just be careful to make sure that you know whether they're talking about the old scale or the new one. because those top scores are harder to get on the new one.
If you're ready to embark on the exciting journey of graduate admission in the United States, make sure you're fully prepared by downloading our free ebook, The International Student's Guide to Studying in the United States. Inside, you will find a comprehensive roadmap detailing everything you need to know to succeed. So don't miss out. Click the link in the description section below to download your free copy now.